Good afternoon. Not supposed to do that? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming. Special afternoon edition. Today, I have an extra special guest, the Shade of Vengeance himself, the ninja of the shark world, Ed Jowett. How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me back. It's a pleasure as always. I'm really looking forward to finding out what you think of this little game here. I sent over a copy. So anyone watching, I sent over a copy, so that you could get a bit of insight. And I'm interested in what you thought about it and the questions you have.
I thought it was pretty darn interesting. First of all, ninjas and sharks, how can you go wrong?
Yeah, there is that. There is that. So the thing is, I can't really take massive credit for all of the ideas that took place in the world because the origin story of this game is quite an interesting one. Back in May last year, I went to a convention, MCM Comic Con, the biggest comic convention here in London, and I was persuaded to run a workshop as well as my normal panel about how to make sure your creative projects finish. And I said, okay, sure, fine. And then I racked my brains for what I might do in a panel, because I've got to come up with something now. And what I came up with was, let's do how Ed creates a tabletop role-playing game in an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And we went in, and the previous workshop had about 5 people in it. I was like, okay, fine, cool, I can cope with that. Within 5 minutes, 30 people funneled their way into the room.
Oh.
So I've got this group of like 30 people who want to create a tabletop role-playing game. So I'm like, okay, fine, cool, okay, we're gonna wing it. And I sort of go to these guys, these lovely people. I'm just like, hey, I've never done this workshop before. It's a brand new thing for me. I just thought I'd try something new. So we're gonna just have a go and see how it goes. And I'm gonna take you through how I create a tabletop role-playing game. So I go, okay, so who has an idea for how we're gonna, what thing we're gonna make a role-playing game about? And someone goes, Diesel Punk. And I'm like, okay, fine. Someone else goes, Sharks. And I'm like, okay, Diesel Punk Shark, okay. Someone else goes, Ninjas. I'm like, fine, Diesel Punk Shark Ninjas. We're gonna run with that. Okay, Diesel Punk Shark Ninjas. We're doing that. And at that point, I sort of split up a lot of the responsibilities for building the world or building the rules or whatever between tables. So there was one table that was working on weapons, and there was one table that was working on which stats we're going to use within the game, and there was a table that was deciding what humanity was doing while these ninja sharks were doing whatever they were doing. And there was another table that was thinking about the I forgot, sorry, they also mentioned alien robots at the time. So it was, okay, so how do the ninja sharks and the alien robot, how does that relate? What are humanity doing in the meantime, and so on? And so, I leave them alone for 10 minutes. And I come back and I'm like, okay, so have you guys worked out what the basis of the world is? And they're like, yeah, we've got it. Right. So the shark ninjas are fighting alien robots which have enslaved humanity to drill for oil. Diesel Punk. Okay. Makes total sense, right? I'm like, okay, sure. Cool, fair enough. And he's like, they're fighting to free humanity. And I'm like, okay, well, I mean, they're enslaved, freeing them, that makes total sense. And then he's like, because humans taste better when they're free range. And I'm like, huh? All right then, fair enough. Okay, fair. That probably makes sense. We're going to go with it. And from there, the world grew. And, this Dr. Chowdhury character who made the shark ninjas, was invented by one of the groups. And when I asked what happened to her, they were like, oh, the first shark ninja definitely ate her. Like 100%. But, Tiburon, this first shark ninja, ate her. 100%. No question in my mind. So I'm like, oh, okay. fair enough. I mean, all right. And then they come up with all these locations, these ideas for the different places that the Shark Ninja might operate. You know, the places where they hide, the places where they fight the robots, the places where the robots are strongest, and so on. And there was a group out there working on weapons. They came up with this idea of shark teeth shuriken, because apparently some species of shark can fire their teeth at things.
Ooh.
So, like, that's the shuriken for the Shark Ninja. And I'm like, okay, well, fair enough. I mean, that sounds. You have a huge knowledge of biology that I 100% do not have. I'm just going to run with it. The one thing the weapon team did not come up with, which I was very disappointed in, was chainsawed katanas. So I had to add those because, you know, if you're going to have a diesel punk Shark Ninja, right?
Yeah, of course. You got to have a sword.
Exactly. Chainsawed katana. That's exactly what you've got to have. So, yeah, this is. I come away with this with a stack of paper, like sort of 20 sheets of paper where people have written what they thought, and I come away from this and I'm like, oh well, that was insane and also a lot of fun, and I think to myself, right, well, I'm going back on October to do another one of these. Maybe I need to put my money where my mouth is and prove that if we come up with a good idea, I will actually publish it. Like, you know, and so what I decided to do was, rather than sit around and do nothing on it, I decided to let people who had been part of that first workshop, who were all listed, by the way, inside the front cover here, because they all contributed. I decided to let them have a copy first, and I wanted to give them about 6 months to have a run at it, which is why I launched in January, because we're done it at the end of end of May last year. So I thought, okay, you know, I'm going to give them the opportunity to get it, and then I'm going to put it out into the world. You know, I think that's only fair. I hired an artist to do some very sort of Biker Mice from Mars, Street Sharks, TMNT kind of artwork, because I felt like that fit quite nicely. And yeah, I sort of took all the ideas that people had. I had to throw some of them away because not everything jived, obviously. But yeah, I put the rest together to make Era Shark Ninja, which is possibly a one-of-a-kind thing. Like, I'm not sure I've ever come across a role-playing game that was quite so unhinged.
So does this fit in with the rest of Era's D10 system, or does this have its own mechanics?
It uses Era D10. I've got the character sheet right here in the back of the book, along with an alien robot there. So there's a. Did that work? Yeah, there we go. Character sheet. And you can see the alien robot there. So there we go. Yep. Sort of a character sheet that will be quite familiar to a lot of Era D10 players already. Yep, uses full Era D10 with a few unique mechanics for the Shark Ninja and the robots. There are a lot of special cases for the robots, like a lot of things the Shark Ninja can do to them can do to each other, don't work very well on robots. So, for example, alien robots are immune to darkness. They can't be prevented from seeing by turning the lights out. They're immune to drowning and suffocation, obviously, because they don't breathe. They're immune to horror. They're immune to being poisoned and so on. But what they aren't immune to is bleeding and then having that set fire to, because their blood is obviously diesel. So if you can make them bleed, you're going to be able to set fire to them, and they take damage each turn. But yeah, you had that lovely image up a moment ago on the Kickstarter of the Shark Ninja sliding under the fire to stab the alien robot there. I mean, the alien robots are enormous compared to humans and indeed Shark Ninja. So, you know, it's not an easy fight for the Shark Ninja. They have to use their tactics and their stealth.
So, okay, so if it is still within the, let's say, the Era mechanical universe, would it be difficult to, like, let's say you had the Era Kaiju game, could you plop in the giant robots to fight the Kaiju, or let's say you wanted shark ninjas to defend yourself from not Godzilla.
Yes, absolutely. They would be cross-compatible reasonably well. Kaiju might be one of the worst ones that it's cross-compatible with, although it would be doable purely on the basis that it's very different in terms of the stats in the way Kaiju works. But let's say you wanted a Shark Ninja in Era Survival to fight zombies. Yeah, 100%. No problem. In fact, you'll probably find it quite easy to make that transition across. You pretty much just make your Shark Ninja and then plop it in the same game, because probably use the leveling up from that game and maybe slightly restrict the stats further. But yeah, you could absolutely have Shark Ninja fighting zombies if you wanted to.
Awesome.
So yeah, there's plenty of space for there's plenty of space for Shark Ninjas in space too. I think it would be quite cross-compatible with Era of the Consortium if you wanted it to. So
Okay.
it's very much a part of, as you say, the Era mechanical universe. I quite like that. It's very much giving you the opportunity to do what you want with what I offer, what I can offer.
Nice. And so I am kind of curious. All the people, which I believe you have them listed, could have sworn I saw their
Yeah,
names
right
here
there.
too. The team. So if anyone wants to check out who all contributed to making this, it's right there on the Kickstarter. What did they say when you told them, like, yeah, I think I'm going to publish this?
Well, I got several very enthusiastic responses, and a few like, "Oh, cool," and a few didn't respond to me at all. A lot of them were, I think, surprised. It was a fun thing that they did, but they never really thought it was going to go somewhere. They thought it was just
Mhm.
just an exercise, an intellectual exercise, which is exactly why I wanted to publish it. I wanted to prove that you can come up with a good, unique idea for a tabletop role playing game in an hour. That was the point of the workshop in the end, right?
Yes.
Something that can be then developed. And I did use as many of their ideas as I possibly could. I threw in a few of my own, like the chainsaw katana, and also the robot, the alien ninja robot. That wasn't one that we came up with. And I threw in a little bit of story about how the aliens had arrived and, their UFOs had landed, and think Independence Day, but when the humans nuked them, there wasn't a shield to stop it. It was just their metallurgy. Their metallurgy was so strong, so powerful that the humans couldn't do anything, couldn't scratch them. And then they win, so they leave. They leave a few robots behind, made of that same metallurgy, and these robots build using diesel generators that humanity has, and build their own robots to be minions for them. So there are this small number of like advanced alien robots that rule over the world and enslave humanity. And it's kind of like, well, if you were a human, would you root for the Shark Ninja to come and visit you? Because if they free you, they're going to hunt you later. I ran a session.
That's a good question.
The reason we're so late, because there are only 3 days left on the campaign. The reason that we're so late talking, because normally would have spoken much earlier. I was at a convention last week, and the week before, when I launched Era Shark Ninja, I was doing prep, very busy doing prep for it. But I did run a game of Shark Ninja while I was there. And the group basically came across this entire mine full of humans. They had a quick look, and they were like, huh, yeah, I don't want to eat these humans. They've been eating like boiled cabbage and broccoli and stuff. They aren't going to taste good. Let them go, and then then they'll taste nice for when we actually want to eat them,
Sure.
like out in the wild.
Yeah, they'll go back to their diets of pizza and hot
Right.
dog and hamburgers, and then they'll be tasty again.
Exactly. Corn fed.
Oh, maybe that's a mechanic for next time. where if the humans find food like delicious frozen foods or something, they become more attractive to the sharks are more likely to eat them early.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fun. There's a lot of space for silly things in there, serious things in there. I mean, if you think about it, this world could be anything from a Saturday morning cartoon of like, oh yeah, the Shark Ninja are just kind of freeing humans, and we don't really focus on the eating humans bit, to something really quite dark of like a humanity that was destroyed, and this one scientist created the Shark Ninja, hoping against hope that there'd be a hope for humanity. I used the word hope a lot of times in that sentence. But she creates the Shark Ninja who then eat her and then go out to eat her people. And they're not really fighting for the good of humanity, they're fighting for their own benefit. And it's kind of like that can be you could run this as really quite dark if you wanted to. So I like that because it leaves a lot of openness for the individual GM to run it the way they want. And those two images on the screen right now, the book images of the Shark Ninja, those are my two absolute favorite images from this book. I love those images. They just they were some of the first images we did, and that is what a Shark Ninja looks like. Absolutely
That's
adore them.
awesome. So will there ever be a future edition where more creatures get into the game? Like you have reptilian aliens coming to fight the robots, or octopus samurais or octopus pirates come from the bottom of the
I
ocean.
actually like that. I never rule out expanding a game. I wrote Era Shark Ninja in a hurry. I'm very proud of it. I wrote it well, but I wrote it in a hurry using the notes that we came up with. Would I expand it to have octopus pirates fighting the robots? Yeah. Would I have alien lizards? Yeah. Yeah, I would. We'll have to see how well this Kickstarter does. We've got a few days left. But it's one of those things where there is an almost unlimited scope to add things to it, right? There's nothing stopping me from going, right, yeah, octopus pirates, we're going with that. I like that idea. Let's add some octopus pirates. I'm gonna, make a new edition with 5 extra pages to cover the octopus pirates. That's exactly the kind of thing I would do with this sort of game.
So speaking of that, it does look like you are here we go, conversions. So you had a 500-pound goal, and it looks like you're just at about 850. So it is backed for anyone who is considering backing.
And we've hit a stretch
it looks
goal.
like for sure you're going to get
We've hit a stretch goal as well. We're going to be delivering digital tokens for virtual tabletops. Given
nice.
we hit 700. So yeah, there's that's just extra. Every backer gets it. There are I definitely know offhand, and I'm not just checking my file or folder where I just put them all. There are five digital tokens of the various kinds of Shark Ninja enemies, just to give you, a way of marking yourself on the on the virtual tabletop.
Nice. Yeah, that seems to be a big thing. I had never really heard people asking for it till recently. I had the author of Gods of the Forbidden North came on, and had 2 very successful campaigns. He's on his 3rd. He won an Ennie, and somebody left a comment like, I sure would like to buy this 15,000 page volume, but unless I get tokens, I'm not going to spend the money. Like, what? That's your criteria? But I guess it's.
I guess some people
becoming a must-have.
feel that way. This was actually a request from one of the backers, and my response was just, yeah, sure, why not? Yeah, definitely. That's that's an easy, fun thing to do. It's not going to cost the earth to deliver them. Why
Yes.
why on earth not? Why wouldn't I do that? I also added, and you know, a couple of people have already backed for the T-shirt. I came up with a Shark Ninja T-shirt design. If you scroll down the rewards, you'll find it in the £49 reward, which is down a bit more, down. That one there. No, one more. Sorry, my bad. That one.
Oh, there we are.
So the Shark Ninja T-shirt, I would 100% wear that T-shirt. It just says Shark Ninja, and there's a Shark Ninja on it. I mean, I would wear that T-shirt 100%. So I thought it was a bit of fun when I came up with the idea, and I just kind of mocked it up very, very quickly. That's a mock-up that I did. I thought it would be a bit of fun to have a T-shirt that just says Shark Ninja with no further context than that.
I think it's great. You should wear that to like a Comic-Con and then see how many people go looking for the books.
Definitely. I mean, I wear my T-shirt from my movie, and a lot of people do ask me about it.
Nice.
So yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, what's that? It's going to be, well, do I have a tale for you?
So how has the reception been? You mentioned you've run this game a few times now. How has the reception been? How have you made changes after the test groups have gone through?
So the second playtest was absolutely perfect. Absolutely smooth as anything, no problems. Also with the couple of games that I've run so far as well. The first playtest, neither of the players took any stealth.
Oh, interesting.
Which caused some problems when they were trying to be, you know, ninjas. Yeah, they didn't do a great job with that. So I changed the mechanics very slightly in character creation to make it so that you have some stealth no matter what. It's just part of your Shark Ninja training. It's a thing you have. You have 2 stealth. And you can build on that. You can improve it and be better at it. But you have a basic 2 stealth. Everyone does. And then some people came up with absolutely nuts things which were really fun. In the game I ran, someone didn't want to have a chainsword katana. Instead, he had a jaw that was reinforced with metal, and all his teeth were chainsaws.
Nice.
So he'd go around biting things instead of using his chainsword katana. We called him Steel Jaw.
That's what, you know, and then we need like some otter wrappers or something. It's like, I could see this going lots of places. A make your own animal mechanic would be incredible.
A lot of fun. It would be a lot of fun. I'm gonna have to think about that.
So did you have to go back and retool things after these test groups?
It wasn't hugely significant. It was really just a bit of a tweak to character creation for this. The Era D10 rule set is really solid and it works really well. I'm very happy with it. I mean, this is the 15th game on the rule set, so you know it ought to be pretty stable. Most of the mechanics were pretty common sense stuff that are unique to this game that really related to the difference between robots and living beings. But it's also a good opportunity to try out robots for, you know, in the Era D10 rule set, because that's not really a thing so far. And I've got something big coming up that I can't talk about yet, but will involve robots. Robots are going to be quite important to it.
Nice.
So yeah, it's good to be able to try them out and see how people respond to them.
Very cool. So you've got this. You mentioned it's your 15th game. You know, now that you've sort of for anyone who's not in the know, you can go to I believe it's shadesofvengeance.com.
That's right, or era-games.com, which is like a sub-site within Shades of Vengeance.
And you can see like there is a game for virtually every genre out there now. So at this point, what do you do? Do you sort of look for different niches that you haven't managed to find yet? Or is it like, okay, now that all my bases are covered, I'm going to go and tinker with these old ones and come up with updates for older versions?
Well, It's funny you should ask that, because I've been asking myself that same question. I think it's a little from column A and a little from column B. There are definitely still some things I want to do. I'm working on a game which is inspired by Dark Souls. I think that the Dark Souls, the official Dark Souls game, didn't really capture what I think Dark Souls is like for me. Now I'm not detracting from the game itself. It wasn't for me. That's all. And I think that I can do something that really does speak to me regarding Dark Souls much better. So I thought, okay, fine, I'll do that. And I'm artwork complete with some writing remaining on that. It's called Era Soul Mist. And you'll get a lot of the standard Dark Souls kind of fare. You'll get a pyromancy thing and I suppose you'd call it miracles if you're a Dark Souls fan. Various weapons with different abilities and swing speeds and so on. And a very, very different approach to combat to not only the Era games, but really any role-playing game I've ever played before. It's got a completely different approach to it. Rather than rolling each time, you're setting up in advance of the combat, and then the combat's very fast-paced. The feedback I've had from playtests, I actually ran a playtest at the same convention I ran Shark Ninja at. And the feedback I'm getting is, oh, it's my turn already. Okay. Which is exactly what I want for a Dark Souls game. I want it to feel like really, pacey. An entire combat round is usually under 30 seconds for 6 players. Which is not bad at all. So I'm still working on some finer points of the mechanics, because obviously that's not a thing that you perfect overnight. You've got to get it really, really right, or it's going to fall flat on its face. So I'm working on that. That's sort of that dark fantasy genre. I've been light on the fantasy side for a long time, because I feel like there are a lot of fantasy games out there. And yeah, fine, Era Dragonsong exists. So if you want to play fantasy with the Era D10 rule set, it exists. You can play it. But I'm not feeling hugely motivated to go and really flesh it out, because there are so many amazing fantasy games out there. Not least your own, which is well worth a look for anyone who hasn't done so yet.
Well, I'm using the 2014 5e rule set to implement the game, but I think you're right. I mean, between actual D&D, Pathfinder, 6 versions of D&D now, Castles and Crusades, Tunnels and Trolls,
and all
it's
the
pretty
rest.
saturated.
I mean, there are many, 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 many of them, and maybe one day I'll come back and go, you know what, I do think my world is a bit unique. My rule set fits it really nicely. Maybe I will actually increase it, but for now, I'm pretty happy with it the way it is. It can just be a rulebook primer, and people can do what they want with it. So that's not top of my list. But for example, I'm still making expansions for Era of the Consortium. I think that's really important. It's my favorite game of the ones I've created. The most epic stories always seem to end up being in Era of the Consortium when I run. I've recently done a lot on Era the Empowered, and there's more to do. There's more to do on Era Survival and a few other bits and pieces. I think it's going to be, oh, hey, you know what? I'd like to do this. And one thing I'd like to do is I've got an idea for a Doom-inspired game.
Oh.
I think that would be a lot of fun. Making basically a squad of Doom guys fighting demons. And since I've already got some demons in the Era universe, as it were, from Era Forbidden, I can sort of use a lot of the themes that I have there to grow it out further, right? And go, okay, well, this is a different place where the same sorts of demons might have showed up. And how do the Doom guys respond to this? And what does this all mean? And so on, that wonderful mystery that you get with the Doom series. I really enjoyed the Doom reboot, and I haven't played Doom Ultimate, yeah. I do mean Ultimate. The one after the Doom reboot, which I've forgotten the name of, because I haven't played it yet.
Oh, I'm not sure.
But I really enjoyed that because what they did is go directly into the lore within the game. I mean, prior to that, I'd only played sort of Doom 1, Doom 2, Doom 3, where they didn't quite go so much into the lore because of the limitations of computers at the time. Although I did get a chuckle when the guy in charge of the of opening the portal to hell was called Benjamin Hayden, because the Hayden family, no, Samuel Hayden, I'm very sorry, because the Hayden family are a big deal in the Era of the Consortium game, which I'd written before I knew anything about the Doom universe. So I was there, I was on stream with Leo, and we both got a bit of a chuckle out of that. It's like, wait, his name's Samuel what? And then we just kind of spent a moment and we sort of looked at each other and went, oh yeah, that kind of tracks actually. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. They'd do anything to get power. That makes sense. So that was a bit of fun.
Definitely.
So yeah, I've got an idea for a Doom game. It would have a very heavy initiative change. Where how good you are at even rolling initiative is affected by how prepared you are, how much ammo you have, are you ambushed or not, do you have the lay of the land before you walk into the room, and so on. And based on that, you might have various different stages of initiative. So I want to do that. That's an idea that I think is fun. I've got a new idea for initiative as well, because I think initiative is the weakest rule. Excuse me, sorry. I think it's the weakest rule in the Era D10 rule set. It's literally you roll one dice and add it to your initiative number. It's what everyone else does. And it's not intuitive to most people who are really into the game or have never played any other games. It doesn't make sense. I just kind of blindly did what everyone else does and didn't think about it too much. I've got a new idea for it, and I think that game would be the perfect vehicle. When I'm already playing with initiative, it would be the perfect vehicle for trying that out. So yeah, there are things I want to do. There's also my very first tabletop role-playing game was Paranoia.
Oh, that's a fun game.
It is a very fun game, and there are some elements of it which I've always kind of aspired to reproduce, not least the clones arrive thing, right? You die, your clone arrives, and your clone doesn't remember anything about what it is that just happened. And okay, Paranoia is a comedy game, and I think I would do it in a more serious way, but I think that could be really fun in itself, right? You're halfway through something, your clone arrives, it's got all the same abilities your previous did, but you don't remember anything. In a serious game, how far would you go to avoid dying, even though you know you're coming back to life?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I think that could create some really interesting dynamics for the players, and that's the kind of thing that I'm really interested in. Like, create a new situation that people haven't really experienced before in the same way.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. So from talking to you, what was it, last year and a half now? You're always up for going to conventions over in the UK. So my question is there ever going to be a grand North American tour?
So I actually did once upon a time go to a North American convention. Anime North in Canada, in Toronto. It was my very first convention. I was invited over by my good friend Drew. And I took with me, in fact, I've got it right here. I took with me Era of the Consortium version 0.8, which was a draft of the original book. And I took the original rulebook primer. I took 7 copies of this and sold them all, no problem. Nice. This was, and this is, like, if you compare it to the books that I do now, it's very, very basic. I had some of the same artwork, but it's very basic in terms of layout. I was still sort of figuring out what we were doing, and yeah, no, I went over. I ran a panel, and we took some comics and some books, and we sat at the games table. And we met some wonderful people. We met the the two founders of Dyson Stuff, who were a podcast, a play podcast, who ran over 50 episodes of Era the Consortium.
Oh, wow.
We met Wayne Brown, who I assisted with publishing. Where did it go? It's around here somewhere. Here we go. No, that's not it. It's here somewhere. I'm not sure where it is. Oh, there it is. We met Wayne Brown, who we worked on Amazing Space Adventures with. He had an idea for about 30 years and had never brought it to life. So I went ahead and gave him a hand. His budget was effectively zero, but I gave him a hand to go ahead and do just a few images and then put the book together. And then I also met John Sarembe, who did Order of the Link. And again, many decades of not doing it. And I encouraged him to go ahead and push the boat out and make a thing. And he did the primer with me. And once he had the confidence to go ahead after that, he went ahead and did a whole release of a rulebook that's like 200, 300 pages. So, I'm very happy to promote and help people's own creativity. It's about giving people that confidence to move forward rather than being scared or worried about what they'll run into. With a bit of a guiding advisor, it's much easier to. I mean, I know you've sort of done your big book, and I know you've run into lots of trouble along various things on the way, and that's what it's like. And unfortunately, a lot of people give up when they get a short distance into a creative project. And anything that I can do to help out, absolutely. So yeah, I went to Anime North. I met all these wonderful people. So I have been to America. Unfortunately, I'm really poor. It might have something to do with all the tabletop role-playing games I create. But I don't have the money to fly over for US conventions very often. In fact, I haven't been able to scrape the money together for 10 years, I'm sad to say. Well, I mean, it's when it's go to a convention or release Era Shock Ninja, it's not an easy choice. It's not an easy choice to go, oh, I'm going to go to a convention. Because while I do love meeting people who play and enjoy my games, I'm here to create games. I feel like, it's a special talent that I've got to bring these universes to life, and it would be a shame if I didn't do it.
Yeah, no, I was just kind of curious because I think I would say the average gamer here in North America probably has not heard of the Era system.
Almost certainly not.
And since you have, like, for me, like if I saw this at a convention and let's say we were just doing a fantasy setting, I'd say, oh, okay. And then it's like, oh, we can add ninja sharks to it. We can add spaceships to it. We can add cowboy motifs to it, all because we have like the same kind of base system, even though they're not 100% the same. We've got this base system that makes it easy to convert. Like, to me, that'd be like, oh my gosh, then it's like, well, to use a Dungeons and Dragons reference, like once you get those, like the player's handbook and the DMG, then basically you're buying different modules after that. And to some extent, that's how Era kind of feels to me. Like once you make the investment to get into the D10 system, like then it's like, it would be easy for me as a DM to run another game because I have a basic understanding. So even if there's some differences, they should be relatively minor.
And also they're relatively well pointed out as well. I'm very careful to make sure that it's obvious. I even wrote an entire little zine about how you would combine Era the Consortium into Era Survival or Era Survival into Era the Consortium, and why those are two completely different things. So, it's a squad of troopers landing on a planet covered in zombies versus zombies appearing on a planet of high tech. It's a totally different feel.
That's cool.
And the mechanics and which ones you choose totally define how that feels. Do you choose the survival mechanics where the weapons are very much more deadly, or do you choose the consortium mechanics where there's lots of armor and shields and things you can do to protect yourselves until you are properly overwhelmed by zombies?
And that's an interesting point you just made, because it's something I've been thinking about for a little bit now. And to me, the most important thing that you can do when you're designing a game is you have to get the feels right. And based on the feels, like that determines the rules, that determines the kind of characters and the
Absolutely.
setting.
It's like
Because,
if
yeah.
you wanted to run something, let's take D&D, because I'm sure many more of your viewers are familiar with it than they are with Era D10. But if you wanted to do a Dark Souls-esque dark fantasy, you are not going to go, right, you have warlocks running around that have these enormous killer spells that can, grow black tentacles out of the ground and smack people. You're not going to do that. You're not going to want that in your game because it will make your game feel wrong. Your spells should be limited. You should be scared to use them because what's coming around the corner next. You should be thinking about that. You should be very limited. Warlocks, in essence, in fact, more or less ruin the idea behind Dark Souls because they have effectively unlimited Eldritch energy, right? They can use it an unlimited number of times per day. Certainly in 3.5 they can. I am a little out of date. I've not played a Warlock in 5th edition, or played opposite a Warlock in 5th edition. But at that point you're not achieving what you want to from the feel because you just blast everything with magic when it appears. What you really want is to be going, I'm going to kite this thing. I'm going to try and lose it, stealth away, so it never found me, so I can sneak past it or whatever. You're thinking, right, I want to avoid it. You don't want to be facing it head to head and going toe to toe with everything because you'll lose too much health. You don't want huge numbers of healing spells and resurrect spells and so on. It would ruin that Dark Souls feel, as the example. So getting I call it the taste of the universe, right? It's sort of like does it taste like lemon? I don't know where that came from. I'm sorry, that's random. But what does it taste like? What do you taste as a person in this universe? Do you taste blood and sweat? Do you taste, the finest of meals? Do you taste what do you taste when you walk around? And getting that taste right and having the mechanics support it is actually one of the things that I think a lot of licensed games, in my opinion, get wrong. Because a lot of licensed games will go, oh no, I've got a rule set already. I'm just going to slap my rule set on this and call it good. It's done.
It's got to be representative of whatever
it's
the license property
is. And that's
is.
why, although all of my games run on multiple D10s, if you were to hold Era the Consortium and Era Survival side by side and even compare weapons with the same name, you would find they have different stats. It's not supposed to be one balanced system. I'm not writing GURPS here. I'm writing multiple games that, yes, use the same core paradigm so you can pick up the next one up. But it's a game that encapsulates the feel that you need for this game, not another game. And I think that's really important.
Definitely. I mean, and it's what keeps people coming back, Like, if I want to play Dark Souls, I want to play Dark Souls. If I want to play, some world with, that's like, what's that show? Walking Dead, it's got to be zombies. There can't be restaurants all over the place, and gas stations with helpful attendants.
Yeah, and
it's got to be gritty.
If you want to play Walking Dead, one of the things you want is this strong theme of the worst things in this world are humanity. Yes. And you've got to have mechanics that support that. And I'm very much on that side of the zombie apocalypse. Like, the worst thing in a zombie apocalypse is not going to be the zombies. It's going to be the humanity once they have no limitations anymore.
Definitely. So in your in the campaign itself on Kickstarter, you've got print versions, you've got digital versions, you've got t-shirts, you've got sort of everything. I guess you'd
I
say.
mean, I didn't want to make it super complicated. So yeah, you can get a physical version. Physical versions all come with digital versions. Signed versions also come with digital versions. So no matter what, if you get the game, you get the digital version. The T-shirt's there. I think that's a lot of fun. Clearly, at least a couple of people agree with me. I am going to print one of those T-shirts for myself. I'm not kidding. I'm going to wear that T-shirt.
Nice.
And just in case anyone's watching who backs for that and takes that reward, if you see me at a convention, I expect you to go, "Shock Ninja!" And then I will do exactly that back to you.
Awesome. That's their catchphrase?
Oh, no, it's just
attack
what it
the
says
robot?
on the T-shirt. I
Okay.
have no idea what their catchphrase is. I think everyone that's ever played a Shock Ninja so far had a different catchphrase. But they're all Shock Ninja, and that's what matters. I Googled, it's funny, it's one of those things, naming things is really hard.
Yes.
So I Googled Shock Ninja and found no results. And I was like, hell yes.
Lucky on the first try.
Yeah, indeed. So it's Era Shock Ninja, and it became that very, very quickly. I don't usually name my games that quickly. I'm very bad at naming things. I subscribe to what they say about. I'm a technical project manager, a development project manager in real life, and I subscribe to what they say. There are only two hard problems in coding, and the first and most important is naming things.
That is very true. So it seems like your anticipated delivery date is April, which is just 2 months from now. I mean, everything's still on track, or
I'm literally holding the book in my hand. I'm pretty sure I can manage to get it out the door. Yeah, I've got a small print run that I made, but the printer who did this can turn around copies in 3 days. So even if I was suddenly to get 500 backers, which I'm not really expecting to happen, if I was suddenly to get 500 backers, I am still very confident that I can get these out the door within 2 weeks of the Kickstarter ending. No problem at all.
Nice. Okay, so then basically all the assets are done. The book is done. It is funded, at least at the minimum level. Just working on some stretch goals now. So anybody who's interested, go check it out. If you're watching this on YouTube, check it out. There, pinned in the chat is a link to it. And down in the description, there's also a link to it. If you're watching this on X, there is also the link in the chat there. So what can we expect next from Shades of Vengeance?
So I don't know if you know, but February in Kickstarter land is Zine Quest month.
I did not know that.
And that's, that the Kickstarter encourages you to write a zine, and send it out to people, or multiple zines. I've done it for many years, and I still feel like with this ending on Sunday, I can still get a Zine Quest project out there before the end of February. I would like it to be a number of really quick prototypes for games. There'd be small booklets that would just take you through the differences between. I did a free Era D10 Fundamentals booklet a while ago. And this is available free on our website, and also you can pick it up off us at conventions. And it's really just so the basics of the rules and some basic weapons and so on. And what I would do is I'd take this and I go, right, in addition to this, here are the 10 pages or 12 pages that you need in order to play this game, or this game, or this game, or this game. And I can do as many as we want to fund of these. And it lets me scratch that itch a little bit of, oh, you know what? I want to do this thing. I don't know how popular it's going to be if I do it. So I kind of want to find out if people like it. And I did it with Era Friction. I did it with Era Dragon Song. They were both prototypes before they were full games. So I think probably I will look at doing that, because it was a lot of fun to do that. It was a very sort of rapid creative process where I was going, right, okay, this. Cool, that's done. Next, this. Okay, awesome. let's do this. And I was able to just throw some ideas out and find out what worked and what didn't. Now, both Era Friction and Era Dragon Song worked really nicely, and people wanted more of them, so, they became real books. But, there was Era Bloodlines, which, I wouldn't say it was unpopular exactly, but maybe it had less of a, oh, wow, that's awesome, sort of as a general reaction. Nothing wrong with the game. It was just more like, oh, yeah, okay, urban fantasy. Yeah, we've seen that before.
Nice.
So, yeah, Zine Quest, I'm hoping, is next. At the same time,
sounds awesome.
I'm getting ready to release another comic, which is, I call it an offcuts issue. It's sort of an anthology of the stories that over the last 10 years didn't make it. Like, I've done some pages for them, and it never quite got there, It's like, I want these things to see the light of day. I want people to see and enjoy them, but they're not finished stories, and that's just the way it is, and they probably never will be.
Oh, sounds really interesting.
I think the creative process is really interesting, and I think sometimes you write something and you think it's going to be good, and then, I don't know, maybe the artwork doesn't quite reflect it the way you wanted it to, or whatever. And whether you like a good story start that never quite gets to the end, or whether you like to look at the creative process and think, why did that not work? How would I do it differently to make it work? Either way, I think that's for me, that's what it's about. The offcuts.
That sounds like a lot of fun. You'll have to let us know when you're getting ready to go to print with those.
I will do exactly that.
All right, everyone. So go check out Shark Ninja, which is on Kickstarter. Links everywhere around this video. If you are new on the channel, or if you're watching on Shades of Vengeance YouTube channel, why don't you come over here at Yang Yan Jiao 4 on YouTube. Give me a follow. We talk a lot of tabletop role-playing games. We've got comic book creators and storytelling in general.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to be on, and I personally, would echo that. I like watching your other content as well. I keep an eye and see the people you talk to. You talk to some interesting people, and
thank you.
I always feel like you ask interesting questions as well, which I think is really important.
Oh, I appreciate that. All right, so everyone, thanks for stopping by. Check in tomorrow, another special early show, 7 p.m. Eastern time, from the Nerd Cognito Speakeasy. We have Dying Breed. We're going to be talking about old school gaming, new school gaming, railroading. Is it really that bad? And what are the best snacks to bring to your table?
I'm gonna have to check that one out, particularly for the last option. I want to know what you guys bring to the table.
Not Cheetos.
I'm a fan of pink wafers, actually, but I think that's a very English thing.
You can get them here, but they're not very common. You have to go to a specialty shop for that.
Pink wafer biscuits. That's the best thing for the table.
Tea and biscuits. All right. Good night.